you what leadership is. You guys are already leaders of your own in your own way. And so I'm kind of just going to facilitate like a discussion for us to have together and ask some leading questions, because not only I hope that you walk away from this with a few tidbits about leadership, but I will also learn some things from you about leadership while we're doing this. So if at any point you would like to contribute, just like wave or something and I'll call on you and we can chat, or just talk freely, whichever. All right. So the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to put up a couple of quotes about leadership and just kind of ask for your guys' opinion on how you would like to interpret some of these. And we'll go from there. Okay. All right, so the first one is, a leader is one who knows the way, goes the way, and shows the way. Is there anybody out there in Zoom land who might want to interpret this for us? Nick.
So to me, like, to be a leader, it's not enough to just know what you're doing. You have to be with everyone else. A good leader would be there doing it as everyone else is doing something and helping them out rather than just telling them what to do. They show you, they do it with you so that you can succeed. They don't just try to like tell you like how it's supposed to be. They actually show you how to do it and like will help you with it.
Yeah, I think that's a great interpretation of that. As Nick is kind of saying, leaders are like in the trenches per se with everyone else. You know, to put it nicely, like we're all suffering together, you know, it's not just everyone's suffering and then the leader is reaping the benefits, right? Another thing about this is that your greatest leadership tool is your own personal example. So if you know the way and you go the way by showing the way and being that role model and following the same rules that you expect of everyone else, that is what will earn you the greatest respect. All right, does anyone else have any other thoughts about this quote? Okay, cool, good. Let's go to the next one.
Marissa, I thought of something.
Oh yeah, what's up?
I think showing the way can be hard. That's something that I've kind of learned recently, is that there's a lot of stuff that I do in my personal time by myself on my laptop that I never explain to other people. So like thing I've thought about recently is offering for people to come and just hang out with me while I work on Kappa stuff, because I think it's kind of hard for people to see because so much of leadership happens behind the scenes, which is something I wouldn't have thought of before, Marissa.
Yeah, that is a really good point. And yeah, especially lately, because so much of what we're doing in our interactions with each other is digital. Yeah, people, and like you're saying, show them what you're working on. That's a great point. Any other thoughts? Okay, cool. Let's hop over here. All right, this next one says, a good leader takes a little more than his share of the blame and a little less of his share of the credit. Which of our friends wants to hop in and talk about this one? My teacher sense is turning on. I'm going to start picking people. And I don't mean it to be mean. Okay, is Courtney raising her hand? Courtney, go.
Hi.
Hi.
To me, this is saying that, like, a leader will own up to the mistakes that they make, and even if it's not necessarily their mistake, they share in that blame, and then when they succeed, they spread that success over everybody who was involved because it was a team effort.
That's perfect. That's perfect. I think that's great, Courtney. Yeah, if you're in, we're all music people. We've all been in band at some point, or we are right now. If your section shows up to rehearsal and just completely bombs, you know, this chunk that you're supposed to have ready, and it just goes really terribly. Whoever the leader is someone that will own up and be like, that is my fault. Like, I know that, you know, everybody plays a role in this, but like, it was my fault for not taking ownership of this and like helping everyone else be the best they can be. Whereas if you show up and everybody owns it, the leader is going to be like, you know, everybody work together for this. They kind of shoulder that burden of the blame to help boost the morale of the rest of the group. Because if you are a leader and you go around blaming the failures of the group on other people, then that's going to make you look like not a very good leader, make you look like you aren't doing your part and you're uncaring. So I like that, what you said, Courtney. That's really nice. That's really good. Any other thoughts on this one? Okay, moving right along. We've got 2 more quotes here. All right, so this next one is, without initiative, leaders are simply workers in leadership positions. All right, I really like this one. Amanda, tell us what you think.
I think this one's almost pretty straightforward. Without the leader actually like doing what they're supposed to do, they just kind of have the label. They're not showing how they're a leader. And so a lot of the time, I personally think when like someone has a leadership role and they're not doing what they're supposed to do, like this quote applies because they have the label, but they're not showing why they have that label.
Perfect. Perfect. Self-starter is a phrase that I really like to use in conjunction with this quote. A self-starter is someone who takes initiative and doesn't necessarily have to be told exactly what to do. They see a need and then they go to it. An example, an everyday example, are some of my high school band students. With what we've had to do with our COVID response, we can no longer rehearse in our band room because it's too small. So every morning we have to rehearse in the gym. And that requires us to lay down a tarp, set up chairs, set up stands, and that's like on the other side of the school. And so the kids, when they get to the gym and they see it's not set up, they take the initiative. They don't wait for me to tell them, hey, you need to do this. They just start doing it. And so that's a great example of seeing a need and getting going on it and being a self-starter. Awesome, Amanda, awesome. Other thoughts? All right, cool. And last but certainly not least, I believe this is a Sirius Black quote from Harry Potter, I think. Not sure, but regardless, I really like it. It says, if you want to know what a man is like, or a woman, take a good look at how they treat their inferiors and not their equals. Who wants to dive into this one? John.
All right. Is this working?
Yeah,
Okay.
your gaming headset is great.
All right. Well, it about died, so I've got to have it plugged in. So
Okay.
so yeah, this is definitely, it's kind of like, I don't know, you see the motivational pictures shared around Facebook, you know, you want to treat the janitor with the same respect that you treat the CEO. So, and I mean, that's how I was raised. So yeah.
Yeah, exactly. If you, I mean, that's a perfect way of putting it, John. If you see someone treating all their friends with great respect, but then they turn around and someone who is not part of their group, or someone who might seem quote unquote inferior and lower than them, if you want to put it that way, that is more of an indication of their leadership and their character than how they treat the people that they already associate themselves with. So it's important to keep that in mind. The people that are struggling are often the ones that need the most love and affection and attention. And the people that you're comfortable with already, they know that you care about them because they're your friends or they're your peers. But the people that are struggling are the ones that you should really be reaching out to and doing your best to help them. All right, cool. if there are no other thoughts on these, we're going to go ahead and move into the next section, which is going to be broken down into two main parts. For being an effective leader, I try to break these down in these two elements of planning and reacting. Those are the two things that you can do. Now, I know that we probably have people from different majors, different fields in here. Not everyone is a music major necessarily, I assume, which is good because you don't want to be a music major. No, I'm just kidding. Music majors are cool. But so I hope that you can take this and apply it to whatever field of study you're in, whether you are in, health, science, business, and take this to like interviews, take it to work, take it to school, personal life, and you call it. I hope that you can apply this. So the first thing we're going to go through is planning. All right. The very first thing with planning is talking about organization of your time and being punctual. There are two separate things we're kind of dealing with here, but they still go hand in hand. So first of all, like I said, I'm going to kind of pose these as questions so you can think about your own personal answers and how it applies to you. So how do you organize your time beforehand? Like say you have a meeting or say you have a sectional, any kind of event. How are you organizing your time beforehand? Do you have a plan? Having that plan is important. Don't just show up to a rehearsal if you're the section leader and think, oh, well, it is what it is. Now, I'm not saying that Dr. Zastapil sits down at his desk every day and plans out every rehearsal from start to finish, what letters he's going to work on, all of that stuff. He has a general concept, and he has the knowledge to know what to address once things start happening. But I'm thinking more of the idea of a general goal, like long-term goal. How do you want the piece to sound? How do you want the meeting to go? What is your long-term goal with that? Did you create like a mental timeline or agenda for how things are going to work out? And then of course, being punctual, being prompt and considerate of other people's time. If you walk into a meeting and you're 10 minutes late, the people that have been sitting there waiting for you have spent 10 minutes thinking about how they're not worth your time. And so there's an article in Forbes magazine that I'm sure you guys have probably been exposed to at some point in time, which is saying that if you are 5 minutes early, you're on time. If you're on time, you are late. And if you are late, is unacceptable. So not only does it affect the people around you when you show up late and you're a member of that group and especially if you're in charge, but it gives you the mental time to arrive and process what you're about to do, which is really important. And then let's move on here to this one. We kind of talked about this a little bit, but having a timeline, having an agenda or an internal checklist of what needs to be accomplished. Again, this can be short-term. It could be a Kappa meeting and you know that you need to plan a fundraising event and you need to contact this person. You need to have at least this many volunteers, so on and so forth. It could be a short-term timeline like that, or it could be long-term. Maybe you're trying to expand the number of hours that people are completing each semester. Maybe you're trying to encourage more brotherhood, whatever that might be. But what I encourage you to do in your personal lives, if you haven't done this already, is to create a 5-year or even a 10-year plan. And that sounds kind of scary at first, but what I'll tell you is if you just start writing things down, that you want to accomplish, maybe you want to graduate school in the next 5 years. Again, unless you're a music major and you want to be here forever. Whatever it is, just start writing down easy things that you think you could accomplish in 5 years, and you'll find yourself developing more and more detailed things along the way. What you'll be surprised to find is 5 years later, when you go back and look at that list, either how many things you have actually completed or things that have changed in your plan along the way. I made one of these my sophomore year of high school, and I went back and looked at it after I was in college for a while, and I realized I completed 99% of the things on the list without ever looking at that list again. It was kind of strange, but doing those things are really good for you, just to give you some kind of internal motivation. All right, next up we've got professionalism and preparation, as you guys might have guessed. Unfortunately, in today's society, you guys know this, first impressions are highly driven by your appearance. The first thing someone's going to notice about you before you even open your mouth is how you look. How are you dressed? Do you look like you've showered this past week? You know, those kind of things. So especially when you're in a leadership position, dressing nice is important. Now I don't know if you guys have talked about this in Kappa yet, but something that we used to talk about is that you're always wearing your letters. And that means that no matter where you go, because you are in this organization, people are going to associate you with Kappa Kappa Psi. And so that goes for like being in the Pride Band. It goes for whatever affiliations you have within your major, goes with your job, things like that. So just know that wherever you go, people are going to be expecting you to have some sort of like rapport for what you're representing. So do you look professional? Do you look like you're prepared? Are you guys familiar with the term Hoover wear? Maybe some of our older guys. Okay, so Hoover wear, Mr. Jerry Hoover was our director before Dr. Snow. And Mr. Hoover was a big stickler on how we dressed on trips. He required us to wear khakis. We were not allowed to ride the bus in gym shorts or sweatpants or anything like that. We had to ride all the way to Florida in khaki pants on a charter bus, dressed nice. He never let us wear denim, things like that.
It's the same way now. They just call it pride attire now.
Gotcha. They just call it pride attire. Okay. All right. So we used to call it Hoover wear, but it's the same thing, pride attire. So having that general framework of what you should look like to represent yourself is good. I'll tell you that I've been a lot of places and I've seen groups show up in blue jeans and things like that. And they just don't come off as sharp. They don't come off as prepared. Though I know there are some situations, like if you ever end up teaching at a school where your students maybe don't have access to that kind of clothing at their age, that's a different story. But as adults, that's something that you guys have access to, and that's important to pay mind to. Are you smiling? Let me see everybody smile. Corey, I haven't seen you smile in like 10 years. Are you doing okay? Yeah, she's doing good. All right, there's Austin. Okay, awesome. So having a good smile, making eye contact, having a firm handshake, being confident, all those things are important for first impressions. But of course, it all plays into the fact that it's how you look, and it has very little to do with what you say and what you're all about. Though I know all of you are great people and great leaders, I don't know that about you until I hear you speak. Otherwise, I'm going off of how you look. Let's see. Next. Does anyone have any questions about any of that so far? All right, cool. All right, and then the last one in planning is networking and reaching out. Something I learned from Eric Matzat, who is the president of Palin Music. He gave a talk in one of my classes a few years ago, and he was talking about how he keeps notes in his phone about people that he meets, people that he knows he's going to probably run into again. Like, say he meets somebody at a gig, and they tell him about their wife and their kids. They talk about what job they have. Maybe they work for White River Lawn Company or something like that. And he will actually go back into his phone with their contact, and under the notes, he will write that stuff down. So that way, the next time he sees them, he can just whip that information out, and that person is immediately like, oh my gosh, he knows, he remembers that stuff about me. I was important to him. And though that might feel like a lot to ask, and I'm not telling you to do that about everybody and keep notes on everybody you meet, it's just something to try to remember things about people to help you network, especially when you're trying to get a good, get a position that you're looking for in your field. Also, be open to a variety of experiences throughout your life, because you never know where it could lead you. A personal example is recently I had a group of older gentlemen ask me to come play with a little rock band they're putting together. They're kind of playing like wedding tunes. And I was like, yeah, sure, like I'll go play with them. And turns out I'm meeting some really talented musicians through them that I never thought that I would run into. Just because I'm rubbing shoulders and rubbing elbows with these guys, it's turning me into these new gig opportunities. Same thing with like a mariachi band that I was asked to play with a while back. I was like, a mariachi band? Like, I don't have any experience with that. But I gave it a shot, and then I met some new people, and it gave me some new connections. Things like that. The job that I have now, the only reason I have it, I guarantee you, is because I knew Aaron Bryan, who is with Palin Music, and I subbed for him for a gig once. And that's the only reason I have my current job. So just don't be shy to like try new things just because it's a little bit outside of your comfort zone. All right, we're gonna move and dive right into reacting, which is the second part. So you have planning and everything that comes before an event, and then reacting. So how do you react in the face of a problem? Do you blame your problems on other people or the circumstances on other people? And how do you respond to people who have authority over you? Are you defensive? Do you own up to your mistakes? Things like that. Do you adapt quickly? Adaptation is one of the biggest things that you can do to help with showing that you're a good leader and becoming a good leader, is being able to adapt on the fly. As members of the Pride Band, you guys are professionals at adapting on the fly. So I know that you guys can do those things. Let's see here. Okay, communication. Communication is key. Whenever you are talking or addressing somebody, it's important to let them know your intentions. If you are in charge of setting up a rehearsal time, it's important to make sure everybody knows that. If you're setting up a meeting, whatever that might be, communicating is crucial. If you're going to be late to something, things happen, life happens. It's important to communicate that. Something I said to my students the other day is, if you forget to turn in an assignment, I'd rather you come and tell me about it than wait for me to come and find you, because then you know it's going to be bad. So if your boss, if you did something wrong and you know that your boss is going to find out or be mad about it, or maybe they won't find out about it, it's still going to be better for you to approach them first, because that will show more initiative, back to initiative, on your part. And they'll be more likely to forgive you and help you out if you come prepared and with a plan and say, hey, I really screwed this up. What can I do to fix it? All right, next, we touched on this just a second ago, but mistakes. How can you recover from a mistake, and how do you recover? Because they will happen. You will make mistakes, and you'll make them a lot. I promise. And it's okay. But thinking about how you can recover from that mistake under that pressure is important. Having anxiety or being stressed about mistakes is completely normal. The fact is just how you handle it afterward, if you can have the sense of mind to stay calm and use your resources to get through it. Just got a couple more here. Delegating. If you're a committee head, or if you're a section leader, or if you're a team leader, if you're running some kind of focus group at work, or if you're the leader in class, by delegating smaller tasks to other people, or even big tasks, that is going to create more of a sense of teamwork and group accomplishment in the long run, and it's going to take more stress off of you. As vice president, Nikki, are you vice president right now? Okay. Yeah. As you are, okay. So as vice president, unless things have changed, the vice president wears so many different hats. They're in charge of a lot of different things, and they kind of oversee all of that. And it's easy to become overwhelmed with that if you take it all on by yourself. And so by delegating to either members of your committee, or delegating to other people in the chapter who are willing to do things, because everybody wants to be a part of it. You wouldn't join a group if you didn't want to accomplish things and have this sense of completion and like you're a part of a group. So be willing to part with some of those duties. I know it's sometimes you think like no one's going to do this better than I will. Like I know exactly what I have in mind, but at the same time, let other people have ownership with it. And then in the end, everyone's going to have some sort of pride with what you've accomplished. And that's a really good feeling. And lastly, we have positivity and teamwork. Are you positive? Do you think that other people see you as a source of energy and light and motivation? Do people look at you and get excited for what they're about to do? Or do they look at you and think, oh man, like this person is always bummed out. Like every time I talk to them, they say something negative. You know, we all know people like that in whatever area of our life where you just kind of avoid them because they suck all the fun out of things. And everybody likes to complain sometimes. Complaining is healthy. It's good to like build on, of course, not publicly, but like everybody likes to complain a little bit, but you don't want to be that person that complains all the time. You want to be someone that is positive and has the vision, and no matter what the situation is. Right now, like we can be honest, like things really suck right now. Like we can't have band like normal. We have people who are sick. We can't have school like normal. It's not normal and it's difficult. But at the same time, on the positive side of things, people are finding solutions. We're finding new ways to work together. We're still able to have interactions like this, which is really cool. And just finding those positive things and sharing that and capitalizing on that with your group, whoever they might be, is what's going to keep everybody motivated to keep going. Because at the end of the day, we're all here. We might as well have fun while we're doing it. There's no point in showing up and doing something that nobody's excited to do because they're so bummed out about how it's not how it used to be, or things like that. So create a space for yourself to be positive, and other people to view you as a source of light and energy. All right, so to kind of wrap things up, I found this the other day when I was working on some stuff for my students and creating like a syllabus for them. And so this is not mine. I took this from somebody else. But these are 10 things that take 0 talent, but will get you 100% respect. And I think that they all kind of pull from the things that we just talked about. Being on time, having a work ethic, putting forth the effort, your body language and how your appearance and how you look. Do you look like you're willing to help? Are you only willing to help when it's fun, or are you willing to step up and help when things could be difficult too? What kind of energy are you giving off? Is it positive? Is it negative? Is it helpful? What's your attitude like? Are you being passionate? Can people see that you actually enjoy what you're doing, or are you just going through the motions? Being coachable, that's something that we didn't talk about as much, but like how you respond to authority figures when they approach you about things. Being willing to make a change and saying, yeah, I'll do whatever it is that you need me to do. That is going to make you more of an asset than being resilient and just being like, no, this is how we've always done it. So being coachable is important. Doing extra, going above and beyond. Like I said earlier, not just helping when things are easy, but staying after, helping put up chairs, rack stands, even if someone doesn't ask you to do it, and then being prepared. There's one thing on here that I wanted to add, and just to kind of summarize or to end on, is make sure you're having fun, because I think as I go through all these things, it sounds like a lot of like, be this, be that, do this, do that. But at the end of the day, if you're having fun and you're being yourself and you're someone who's approachable and you're just being chill, like people are going to respect you, because, you know, we're all humans, we're all living life. Everything is like, you know, we're all just trying to figure it out together. The older I get, the more I realize that nobody knows what the heck they're doing. And we're all just kind of making it up as we go. No matter how old you get, I think that's going to happen for the rest of our lives. You're just going to think people older than us must know what's happening, but they really don't. And so just find a way to make it fun for yourself, and then other people will have fun too, while keeping all these other things in mind, of course. But that's my advice to you. Does anybody have any questions or comments, rude remarks, insults? I'm ready for all of it.
Boo hiss.
Okay, you can leave the chat now. Just kidding, please don't go.
So this isn't something we really talked about. I think like dealing with frustration, if there's a problem and you don't know how to solve it, like what's the first step? Especially if you're not in a titled position.
Okay, good. So if you're not in a titled position, which I think is important, I guess I didn't mention this, is you don't have to be in a titled position to do all these things. This is something that you should do without a position title. But when you're dealing with frustration, I think the first thing is to talk to somebody about it first. Have someone that you trust, whether that be someone else involved in the situation. I would recommend maybe somebody outside of the situation, though, because they can offer you an outsider perspective. There have been times when I've been really kind of fired up about something, and then I go talk to somebody else about it, and I'm just like, man, this is really like grinding my gears, like I'm just really frustrated. And they will kind of bring to light some things that maybe I didn't think about before. And that kind of allows me to view it from a fresh perspective. The other thing we did mention earlier is communication.